Week 2 is officially in the books, and now it is time to turn the page to week number 3, and it is time to put in your lineups. Whether you're 0-2, 1-1, or 2-0, I am going to help you win your week number 3 matchup and put your team back on the map. In today's video, we're going to be going in depth through every single matchup of week number 3 from Thursday Night Football all the way up until Monday Night Football, and I'll be telling you guys whether you should start or sit the running backs in every single game, as well as how I feel they were finished by the end of the week. But before we can get into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you're doing up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 3 running back start or sit decisions for the 2025 fantasy football season. We begin with Thursday Night Football, the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Sunday Night Football theme song says you waited all day for Sunday night, and as a Dolphins fan, this Thursday Night Football game has the exact opposite experience. I am dreading getting to Thursday to witness what is going to be a beatdown of large magnitude. The Miami Dolphins stand zero chance in this game. The Buffalo Bills in week 1 have that miraculous comeback up against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. In week number 2, even with Josh Allen not playing all that great, even with his nose getting basically broken in that game, they win easily up against the Jets. This is going to be a disaster of large proportions, and frankly, I, for one, am not ready to witness what is about to occur. Now, even with the Dolphins sucking more wang than someone out of glory hole, Devon Achane has been a top 10 running back in back-to-back games and would have scored 30-plus points last week if his toe was a little bit smaller. It was kind of the shades of Kevin Durant up against the Bucks in Game 9 when he was on the Nets back in 2021. If you know, you know. 11 rushes for 30 yards and 8 receptions on 10 targets for 92 yards and a touchdown up against the Patriots. With Tua Tagovailoa healthy, Achane is basically a stone-cold lock to be a top 10 finisher at running back weekly, with the upside of being the running back number 1. Mike McDaniel will probably be gone soon, and that could end up hurting Achane, but until then, Achane is a must-start running back on a team that is a walking clown show, a steaming pile of dog shit. I got him, though, as a top 8 running back here against Buffalo. Last year, he scored 29.5 points in week 2 in a game where the Dolphins got their back blown out. Tua tried to hit stick Damar Hamlin, and then Tua got concussed, and later on in the season, with Tua back in a closer matchup in week 9 in Buffalo, where the Dolphins lose 27-30. Tyler Bass hits that field goal as time expires. It still hurts me to my core. Achane scores 32.1 PPR points, so you got to be firing him up with supreme confidence. In a year from hell from the Miami Dolphins, Ollie Gordon has been held captive by that. Week 1, as the Colts throw hammer fists into our skull, Ollie Gordon saw 3 touches. Last week, in a closer game, he sees just 2. I think if the Dolphins were not a complete and utter dumpster fire, you would actually see a lot more of Ollie Gordon. But since that isn't the case, and since that probably never will be the case, at this point, all he is a handcuff that could end up seeing more usage if Mike McDaniel gets fired. For the Buffalo Bills, James Cook 100% circles this matchup on his calendar when they announce the schedule. He's like, this is a barbecue chicken alert matchup. This is a cupcake, bitch-made, soft defense that gets plowed by the run every single year, and James Cook is going to do exactly that. As a Dolphins fan, knowing Josh Allen and James Cook are going up against me, I feel like a woman that is hiding inside of the closet during a slasher film. You know you are absolutely cooked. This dude is going to deep dick us so hard for 3 to 5 business days, we might not be walking straight, okay? This is a bad news Bears spot for the Dolphins. This is a wet dream matchup for James Cook. He has been running hot through the first 2 games of the season, back-to-back 21-plus point showings in PPR, and both games inside the top 4 at the running back position. The Dolphins' run defense is about as useful as using a condom that is 50 holes poked in it. They are top 5 in most points allowed weekly to running backs. James Cook is a must-start, top 5 running back on the week, and again, I am very scared for what is about to happen for the Dolphins. We saw Ray Davis finish second in snaps in the Bills running back room last week with 27%. Ty Johnson played 25%. Since this is the Dolphins defense, Ray Davis will probably score a touchdown, right? And since they're winning, they'll probably just cede more touches too from James Cook and hand them to Davis or maybe even Ty Johnson. But ultimately in week 3, when there's no teams on bye, there's no insane in the membrane injuries, I just don't think you need to get cute and be playing Ray Davis in week number 3, especially when they have Josh Allen, who could easily run for 3 touchdowns in this spot. Next up, we move to the Green Bay Packers at the Cleveland Browns, the first game on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week, we don't have 2 Monday Night Football games. Shout out to the NFL for making us stay up until 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time last night to watch the Chargers versus the Raiders. Josh Jacobs. Now, this is not the most ideal matchup for Josh Jacobs. The Cleveland defense just had Derrick Henry running like he was in quicksand and held Chase Brown down in week number 1. Josh Jacobs ultimately should be fine, though. Okay? The Packers team as a whole is just too good for Josh Jacobs to be a complete and utter bust. But it is important not to just get too high and mighty on him, rank him too high, because this is far from the ideal matchup. Back-to-back weeks with 14 PPR points. He scored a touchdown in both games and will probably score again this week as the team utilizes him heavily inside of the red zone. He is a solid mid-range to high-end running back 2 on the week. Chris Brooks appears to be the running back 2 on the team, but with Jacobs seemingly playing around 80% of the snaps on a weekly basis, starting Brooks, who may cede more work to Emmanuel Wilson as the season goes along, there is no need to play him. Now, despite looming reports about Quinshon Judkins getting suspended prior to week 2, that just didn't happen, and despite the fact that he barely even practiced and wasn't at training camp all summer long, the man suited up against the Ravens, got 10 carries for 61 yards and 3 receptions for 10 yards. In terms of touches, he had 13, Ford had 11, Sampson had 7. It was very clear watching the game that Judkins is the best running back on the team. He saw 27% of the snaps, Ford had 48%, and Sampson had 23%. Ultimately, as he gets more integrated into this offense, he will become startable. But this week, on what will probably be a limited snap share in a touch split, going up against a Packers defense that can shut the door on any running back, allowing the 27th most points on a per-game basis to running backs. There is no reason to start any of these Brown running backs. Now, Ford, to me, is the 3rd best running back on this team behind Judkins and Sampson, but ultimately, I don't think it would be a shock to anyone if he was the running back with the most amount of snaps and touches on the team. Again, I think eventually that is going to fall out of favor for him. Judkins will see more work. Sampson will get more work. But again, there's no real need to start a running back in a 3-headed backfield up against one of the best run defenses in the league. Next up, we got the "This is our Colts, this is our team, we bleed blue" at the Tennessee Titans. Now, Jonathan Taylor ran like the 2021 version of himself, who was the running back 1 on the season last week up against the Broncos in a matchup that I thought was going to be a clear come back down to earth matchup for the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts didn't just play competitively, they won the game. JT ran 25 times for 165 yards and 2 receptions on 2 carries for 50 yards and a score as the running back number 1. The man played 93% of the snaps in that game. He is a clear bell cow back on a great offense that is working well with Daniel Jones with a great offensive line. The matchup is great for a running back, so I feel great about him as a top 12 running back must start on the week. Now, Giddens did see less work on the field in week 2 compared to week number 1. In week number 1, Jonathan Taylor gets his neck banged up, and then ultimately the team just decides, hey, we're beating the Dolphins by 7 million points. The game is over. Let's not insert Jonathan Taylor back in there to potentially get hurt. We'll rock with Giddens. And Giddens looked good out there, but ultimately they want JT to be the bell cow back, so there's no reason to actually play DJ Giddens, even in a great matchup here. Now, Tony Pollard has seen 89% of the snaps on the Titans offense in back-to-back games. He had 19 touches in week 1 and 20 touches in week number 2, and he has disappointed with that workload. He hasn't topped 10 PPR points so far through the first 2 games of the season, though in week number 1 up against the Broncos, I expected that to happen because I didn't think that was a great matchup. I thought the team would get far behind because the Broncos have a great defense, and you would see Tony Pollard potentially on the struggle bus. Last week, he played better. He was 0.8 points away from that 10 number. This is a mid-tier matchup for Tony Pollard. I don't think this is a wet dream spot. I don't think this is going to be a spot where he's guaranteed to get locked up and they throw away the key. So knowing that we'll see as many touches as he does weekly, he should be able to have his best game yet as a low-end running back number 2. With Pollard seeing so many touches and snaps, Chestnut is irrelevant in this offense and thus irrelevant in fantasy football. Next up, we move to the Cincinnati Bengals at the cold-like Minnesota Vikings, a matchup between two backup quarterbacks, Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz in big 2025. In my opinion, Chase Brown's potential to finish as an elite running back has been thrown into a coffin, Undertaker style, with Joe Burrow getting hurt. And what I mean by this is his upside of being a top 5-ish back by the end of the season really doesn't seem possible with Jake Browning. But this doesn't mean that you should just trade away Chase Brown for a half-eaten bag of barbecue Lays. He can easily still finish as a high-end running back 2 or even a low-end running back 1, especially if the team makes a move to get a more competent quarterback 1. Cough, cough, famous Jameis Winston. Cough, cough, Coles, Cash, Kirk Cousins. I have been very disappointed as a Chase Brown truther by his production to start off the year, but ultimately I think he is better than what we have seen, and he plays too many snaps not for him to bounce back, 70+% of the snaps in both games. The Vikings are a good matchup for a running back, so even with my worries about the offense as a whole, he should still be in the high-end RB2 to low-end RB1 conversation. For P. Ryan, even with them only utilizing 2 backs and him seeing 25+% of the snaps in both games, he had just 2 total touches on the season. He should not be on anyone's radar. Jordan, the numbers, Mason, what do they mean? Aaron Jones is unlikely to play, according to head coach Kevin O'Connell, and is dealing with a hamstring injury. J.J. McCarthy is expected to miss 2 to 4 games with a high ankle sprain, which is very interesting because towards the end of the game, he was running around, and I didn't think he looked very hurt. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, okay? He probably is hurt, but it just didn't look like it. Mason will lock in for a hefty workload in a great top 3 matchup for running backs. But that fun time could easily be ruined by the corpse of Carson Wentz that's going to be going out there to play quarterback. Ultimately, they will lean on running the ball at a very high clip because of Carson Wentz being under center and because they were even doing that with J.J. McCarthy. But if Jake Browning can perform well like he did last week, they might not be able to run the ball all game. This is a gross spot for a game as a whole in the worst quarterback matchup of the week. I love the matchup for Jordan Mason's running ability. I got him as a low-end running back too, strictly because the matchup is so beautiful, but it does feel very, 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 very gross. Ty Chandler would be the running back too, assuming Aaron Jones is out. He will see more touches, but nothing compared to Mason, so he would be a clear sit. You're not starting the fucking running back two on a Carson Wentz offense in 2025. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots, but before we break down this game in depth at the running back position, as well as the rest of the games in the Week 3 slate, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description, you receive a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you play $5 in the pick'em, you will receive $50 in bonus funds. If you don't know how the pick'em works on Underdog, it's incredibly simple. You pick at least 2 players, they're higher or they're lower, and if both of the picks hit, you get paid. If you do multiple other picks, then the payout will be higher. They have a great website, link down below. They also have an app that you can download on the App Store. Make sure you sign up using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description. Now, Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots. Now, for the Steelers, as a Caleb Johnson truther this summer, it appears that my dream of him becoming the lead back in his rookie season may not be possible. That special teams blunder could lead to him being even more in the doghouse than he was already in. He was already in the fucking doghouse. He has a 5-star palatial estate inside of the doghouse. He has his wife and children in there, and now he's moving a dog in there, okay? It's getting significantly worse. I still think as the season goes along, we're going to be seeing some more Johnson pause, but as of right now, things are looking very bad for Warren, though. Things are on the up and up. He got 14 carries for 48 yards and 4 receptions on 4 targets for 86 yards last week. This is a mid-range matchup for running back, so even if the Steelers are, honestly, probably a below-average offense, maybe they bounce back and look more like they did in week number 1, but I'm not too sure about that. Jaylen Warren should still be a fine low-end running back 2 weekly. Now, Gainwell led the team in snaps in week 1, and that flipped in week 2 as Warren saw 58% of the snaps. Gainwell should see around 10 touches, but frankly, he isn't really that good of a player, nor is the offense good enough for me to consider actually starting him. For the Patriots, Josh McDaniels should honestly be put on trial for war crimes against Travion Henderson owners. This dude is running Antonio Gibson out there instead of him. Now, Henderson is kind of fucking himself over, right? He was called for not 1, not 2, but 3 holding penalties last week up against the Dolphins. So while I do expect things to go in his favor eventually, as of right now, with his touches decreasing from week 1 to week 2, I would not feel comfortable starting him. Now, the Dolphins are so bad at stopping the run that Ramondre Stevenson looked like prime Christian McCaffrey up against the Dolphins. Bro caught a huge pass late in the game that was a dagger into my heart. He was the running back 6. We let Ramondre Stevenson be the running back 6. Imagine what James Cook is going to do to us, guys. I talked about it earlier. James Cook is going to absolutely rip us a new one. Running back 6, Stevenson, with 11 carries for 54 yards, 5 receptions on 5 targets for 88 yards. This is after a game where the dude had 2.1 yards per carry. Looked like he was running in slow motion from the Matrix movie. He was so fucking bad. He's not good. Anthony Fantano. And people are going to come on here and be like, Nick, should I start Ramondre Stevenson because you saw what he did to the Dolphins defense? The Steelers defense might not be they pay a lot of money for that defense and it ain't working out. But the Steelers defense is not the Dolphins defense. There is no need to start him. Next up, we move to the LA Rams at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the alarms are sounding for many Kyren Williams owners as what felt like for the first time in his career, a running back that wasn't him scored a touchdown. Blake Corum scored 1 on his 5 carries and averaged 8.8 yards per carry. Even still, Kyren had 17 carries for 66 yards and 2 receptions for 14 yards. Ultimately, though, at the end of the day, I don't think your panic meter should really be sounding at the maximum. It should be blaring. This matchup does raise the alarm slightly as it's not a great matchup, but it's not because Kyren's just going to be ceding a bunch of looks to Blake Corum. I feel confident in Kyren going forward, and in any given game, he's a guy that could score 2 touchdowns, and no one would be shocked. Don't panic. Again, the matchup a little bit scary. So he might not perform great this week. Low-end running back 2, but it's not because Blake Corum's taken over. Even if Corum did end up getting more work this week than both weeks in the season or any week last season, in this kind of a matchup, he would be unstartable. For the Eagles, Saquon Barkley is one of the running backs that you can try and talk yourself into, oh man, this is a tough matchup. I'm not ranking him inside the top 5. I'm not ranking him inside the top 10. Oh my gosh, I can't do it. But ultimately, this is the guy that is live to eat a defense alive, Jeffrey Dahmer style, regardless of how good or bad they are. Last week is the perfect example of that. He was a top 12 running back against one of the best run defenses in the league in Kansas City. A hostile environment, and it doesn't matter. He still found the end zone. This week, he faces a defense that I get is good on paper. Last year, Saquon Barkley had them holding his pocket. The man had 302 yards and 2 touchdowns against them in November, and in the playoffs, he smacked them. Smacked the ever-living shit out of them. Fucking Stockton slap. Shout out to Nate Diaz. He put up 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. It is safe to say you should be feeling real nicey about Saquon Barkley force choking the Rams on his way to finishing as a top 3 back. A.J. Dillon appears to be the clear running back too, as of right now with Shipley hurt, and with Tank Bigsby just recently joining the team, I think this will be the case until they start rocking with Bigsby more. Even so, the running back 2 in the Eagles offense isn't even guaranteed to get 5 touches. They'd be lucky to. So they are clear sits every single week. Next up, we move to the New York Jumbo Jets at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Breece Hall was a casualty of the Jets offense ineptitude in week number 2. After this offense looked like a Ferrari in week number 1, they turned into a clown car up against the Buffalo Bills. 10 rushes for 29 yards and 2 receptions on 3 targets for 9 yards. Fields got hurt in that game with a concussion, and that is definitely something you want to monitor. Aaron Glenn has already kind of said, hey, if Fields isn't practicing for a lot of the week, I would find it hard to start him. That signals, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Maybe Fields, even if he's good to go on Friday, might not even be the starter. So definitely something that you want to follow, because if Tyrod is in, that definitely hurts the offense. I'm not saying Tyrod is like the worst backup quarterback ever, but again, Fields isn't the best quarterback ever either, but Fields is way better than Tyrod Taylor. So right now, Breece is kind of sitting in limbo as a mid to low end running back too. I feel good about his talent, but I do not feel good about the situation in this offense without Fields. So we sit kind of just feeling, all right, we'll just wait and see what happens. You know, when I make the running back rankings video on Thursday, we should have more information. It should be a lot more concrete on how I feel about him. With the Jets getting 4 quarters of face fucking by the Bills last week, Allen was invisible. If the team can't move the ball, Braylon Allen will be close to relevant as a short yardage and potential red zone back. In week 1, he scored because the team was in a high-scoring back-and-forth game with the Steelers. I expect the Jets offense to look better this week if Justin Fields is able to play, so Allen could bounce back, but ultimately I haven't seen enough out of him nor the offense to warrant actually starting him at this point. James Cook and the Buffalo Bills just tore the Jets defense to shreds. They ripped them up. So we should expect a running back with the caliber of Bucky Irving to do the exact same thing. Last week up against the Texans in Houston on Monday Night Football, Bucky had 17 carries for 71 yards and 6 receptions on 6 targets for 50 yards as a top 12 running back. In a much easier matchup this week up against a defense that allows the 7th most points to running backs on a weekly basis, you have to feel great about Bucky Irving. Even with the offense being a little lackluster, I'll be honest, in that game. A win's a win. Bucky still played great. No-brainer, top 8 start on the week. Now, Rashad, with 2 A's White, scored the game-winning touchdown with 6 seconds to go in Houston in that game. He had 10 carries for 65 yards and a score, as well as 2 receptions on 2 targets for a yard. He did see a uptick in touches from week 1 compared to week 2. He had just 3 in week number 1. In terms of snaps, Bucky played 71, and we saw Rashad White play 31%. This is clearly Bucky's backfield, and unless the level of touches that White received is very consistent, it keeps up on a multiple week level, I just don't think you can start him. He is a great handcuff because, frankly, he's a solid, competent starting running back in the NFL. It just so happens that they drafted Bucky Irving, and Bucky Irving's just better than him. So I could easily see the touches dipping this week, so I would just stay away. Next up, we got game number 8. We're at about the halfway point, the exactly halfway point, because there's 16 games in today's video. Please make sure if you are new, you hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money, and leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Washington Commanders. Now, Ashton Genty, unsurprisingly to me, shit the bed up against the Chargers. I warned last week that this was a rough matchup and that I could really see Genty struggle, and spoiler alert, that is exactly what happened. Someone in the comment section last week was like, Nick, how do you have Javonte Williams ranked ahead of Ashton Genty? Blah, 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 blah. That's why, because the matchup is very, very difficult, and that proved to be the case. Now, this game could have been better. I will admit, it could have been better if Geno Smith knew which color jersey to throw the ball to, as the man threw not 1, not 2, but 3 picks in that game. With the matchup is brutal like that, and the running back is in his 2nd ever NFL start, and his quarterback turns cross-eyed before the game, shit doesn't go well. This week, he gets a better matchup, but not an amazing matchup by any means. Eventually, Genty is going to let his nuts hang like he did back at Boise and drop a big game. My panic meter is a little bit up, but again, I don't think you should just be throwing in the towel, right? You should be abandoning ship after 2 bad games of the guy's rookie career. I still got him as a low-end RB1. Zamir White appears to be the clear RB2 behind Genty. At one point in 2023, you may have thought, I kind of thought, you know what, this guy has the ability, the skill set to be a starting running back at the NFL level. Now just 2 years later, the guy reeks more than a porta potty 5 minutes before you got to go walk inside the stadium for kickoff. So 2 rushes for -2 yards. Not even rosterable last week. Jacory, Krosky, Moret. Bill, Nye the science guy, little Bill, put him pop. Bill disappointed us in a big way last week against the Packers. Eckler tore his ACL, though. Sad for Eckler. Look, I'm going to be mean to Eckler for half a second. He looked terrible. He looked so fucking bad against the Packers. I have no idea why JCM was on the sideline like a cuck watching that happen. And then Eckler got hurt. I feel bad for Eckler. I've always liked Eckler. I've been an Eckler fan since he was with Melvin Gordon, tag team in defenses in LA with the Superchargers. So I hope Eckler's okay. I hope he can play again, but he probably will end up retiring, sadly. So now JCM should be the lead back this week. But I use the word should for a reason. They have McNichols. They have Chris Rodriguez and newly signed Chase Edmonds. So this could be a brutal committee. In a matchup that has been tough for running backs through this point of the season, JCM is a great stash play, right? Chill him on your bench. If you are in a real pickle and you have to play him, I get it. He's close to being a start for me, but realistically, I would prefer if he was on my bench. I do think McNichols should see the second most amount of snaps behind JCM. He has seen just 4 touches, though, so far this season, and is just a guy you have chill on your bench. Hey, if things don't end up going right with JCM, then you can play McNichols maybe, but we need to hope Jaden Daniels plays here with that knee injury so that we could get just a better look at the offense as a whole. Next up, we move to the Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Now, Bijan plays football so beautifully that it legitimately brings a tear to my eyes every single time. It is like the first time I saw a pair of titties in real life. Pure magic on the football field. Bijan has scored 19 plus points in back-to-back games and hasn't even scored a rushing touchdown yet. Algier, sadly for us Bijan owners, was the one who scored the only touchdown in a disaster class Monday Night Football game kick fest up against the Vikings in Minnesota. This week will be the one where he gets that rushing touchdown. Hopefully, the Panthers defense is an above-average matchup for running back, so I feel great about Bijan this week. He's a must-start running back regardless of the matchup. I got him as a top 3 running back for the week. Like I mentioned a bit ago, Algier scored the only touchdown in that game on Sunday, 16 carries for 76 yards with that touchdown, and he had 1 reception for 4 yards, but this is not something that we are going to be accustomed to for Algier in this offense with Bijan. Sure, Algier has seen some games with 10 plus touches, but ultimately his workload always goes back down. So there's no need to roll the dice this week, even in a good matchup for Algier, in my opinion, unless you are really down bad and kind of just have to start up. A lot of these guys are startable if you're really down bad. You just need an upside play. Even with the Panthers offense looking far from perfect, to say the very least, in their first 2 games of the season, Chuba has been a top 12 running back in both games. He sees a nice floor of 5+ targets over the first 2 games of the season and scored a receiving touchdown in both games. Ultimately, if he doesn't score this week, you will probably end up being very disappointed. But with the offenses having the pieces, they have the chess pieces there to be good, they just need to play better. Hopefully, they ride the momentum that they had down the stretch of last week's game in Arizona, and the offense turns the leaf, turns the page, and plays better. I don't feel amazing about Chuba, just due to the play of the midget, Bryce Young, and this matchup not being great. But he's still startable as a low-end RB2, and again, he just always fucking scores. He hasn't even looked great through the first 2 games. but he somehow just pulls a rabbit out the hat and keeps scoring and having good games. So, you know what? Why stop believing him if he's on fire? Next up, we move to a matchup between the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars, an AFC South matchup in Duval. My GOAT, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb whipped it out all over the Buccaneers last week at home. He had 12 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown, as well as 2 receptions on 2 targets for 29 yards. A round of applause for my GOAT, Nicholas Chubb. He did not look as washed as everyone was saying. Nick, you can't draft Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's completely washed, they say. Fuck you, Nick Chubb says in response by stiff-arming them straight to Middle Earth, okay? Look, do I love starting Nick Chubb this week? No. Am I ever going to love starting Nick Chubb? Probably not. But with all the reports being so negative about Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb might be the lead back all season, and I could see him finding the end zone in any given game. The offensive line looks terrible, and that is a big, bad thing. It's a big bad thing for Nick Chubb and CJ Stroud, to say the very least. CJ Stroud drops back, and within half of a second, there are 3 men surrounding him looking to take him down. It is bad news, Bears. But again, they're still going to keep giving the rock to Chubb. He's in the running back 3 range, so you don't have to force Chubb into your lineup by any means. But if you're dealing with running backs that haven't been productive like Pacheco or Travion Henderson, I would prefer to start Chubb over them this week up against the Jaguars. Woody Marks played 27% of the snaps, which was a decent uptick from week 2, and he had that big catch for 37 yards. He could eventually become start-worthy if Chubb slows down and the offense wants that youth to spark the offense with the pass-catching upside. But with how things sit right now, it isn't even a lock that he sees 5 touches. So, I don't feel very good about starting him. I don't think anyone should. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, even with Baishal Tootin playing as well on Sunday as he did in Cincinnati, this is very much ETN's backfield. ETN had 16 touches and played 47 snaps to Tootin's 18 snaps. He ran 26 routes to Tootin's 7. I am a believer in Tootin's ability with Tank Bigsby now in Philadelphia, munching on a cheesesteak at Geno's, but right now, it is ETN's time to shine. Back-to-back 16-plus point performances. The Texans' defense is pretty good, though last week, Bucky played amazingly against them, so I'm not going to get too nervous. Off of sheer volume alone, he should end up as a high-end running back, too. Tootin scored 15.4 points last week, with ETN scoring 1.5 more points with 16.9. Like I said earlier, though, he played just 25% of the snaps. I think we see that increase. And I also think LaQuinton Allen, not LaQuinton Allen, that would be a cool name too, sees the field less. But as of right now, I think you're just getting way too cute playing Tootin in this matchup. Next up, we move to the 4 p.m. slate, the Denver Broncos at the LA Superchargers. We got 4 games at 4 p.m. on Sunday. Don't understand why they don't put more games at 4 o'clock. That's just me, I guess. I'm the only one who thinks this. J.K. Dobbins and the Broncos in SoFi. Now, Dobbins continues to look like the best back on the Broncos. Back-to-back games as a top 16 back. Though, I will pump the brakes here, even after having back-to-back spots with the touchdown. The Chargers allowed the 31st most amount of points to running backs on a weekly basis. This is a brutal spot for Dobbins. Now, maybe they're just getting lucky because they went up against Hunt and Pacheco, and then they go up against Genty in his second ever start. Sure, maybe that's the case, but I thought they would have a good run defense going into the season, so I don't think we could just brush it under the rug because of that. The touches will be there, and the Broncos should show up offensively up against the Chargers, unlike local blind man Geno Smith did last week, so Dobbins could find the end zone again. The matchup here, though, does scare me, so I got him as a high-end running back number 3. Not a must-start by any means. Harvey is still clearly behind Dobbins in the hierarchy of this offense. Could that eventually shift 100%? And with Dobbins being one of the most injury-prone backs in the league, I'll knock on wood, I'm not rooting for injuries, but let's just be honest, let's just be real. Like that Kid Ink song, obviously I don't want him to get hurt, but it's just something to worry about. He really is one of the more injury-prone backs in the league. Realistically, Harvey will eventually get his time to shine, but as of right now, with him getting just 6 or 7 touches more than likely this week in a rough matchup, he is just not startable. Now, for the Chargers, just like Ashton Genty, Hampton reeked to high heaven last week. Najee saw a bigger snap share compared to week 1, and Omarion Hampton kind of fumbled, but they gave the credit to Herbert, so hopefully that doesn't throw Hampton into the doghouse. Woof woof. Again, we are 2 games into the fucking guy's career. You can't write him off too quickly. You can't give up on him. You can't throw in the towel. But we have to start being a little bit more realistic. We did just see Jonathan Taylor run a train on the Broncos, but I also don't think Hampton will do that. So he's a low-end RB2 for me at this point. Najee Harris was using his echolocation to rush 8 times for 28 yards and get 2 receptions for 10 yards. I do think he could see more touches going forward, but this is far from a guarantee as of right now. I still do believe Hampton is the lead back in this offense. Next up, we move to the New Orleans Saints at the Seattle Seahawks. Now, even with the emergence of Juwan Johnson, Alvin Kamara is still a key focal piece in this offense. Kamara may not end up being a league winner because he is handicapped by the offense as a whole and the quarterback play of Rattler. But at the end of the day, he will still be a reliable high-end running back 2 every single week with the upside of elbow dropping that 30-plus point bomb due to the amount of receiving work he sees in any given game. With the matchup being great against the Seahawks, who are top 5 in points allowed to running backs, I feel real nicey about Kamara as a high-end RB2, with Kamara playing 80+% of the snaps weekly and Kendre Miller seeing 15% of snaps in both games. No need to ever play Kendre, as is very likely he could just not see the ball at all, and it would not shock me. So Kenneth Walker, week 2 for Seahawks running backs was the same in terms of snaps as week 1. And just hearing that, if you didn't watch the game, if for some reason you didn't check how did Kenneth Walker do, that sounds bad, right? Charbonnet led in snaps. Again, 55%, Walker had 35%. But there was a clear difference in fantasy production compared to week 1. Kenneth Walker in Pittsburgh was the running back 9 last week. He had 13 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown, as well as 1 reception for 13 yards. Charbonnet had 15 rushes for 10 yards, which is bad. Based on this showing, the assumption would be that the team leans further into Walker going forward, but I would not bet my house on that being the case this week. Ultimately, though, just as I said last week, you didn't draft Walker in the first 3 to 4 rounds to sit him on the bench in week 2. And you aren't benching him in week 3 as a mid-range running back 2. Based on what I saw to Sharps last week, averaging 0.7 yards per carry, I don't think you can start him, even like speculatively. Oh, maybe you'll see more snaps. Oh, maybe I want to go with him again. I just don't think you can do it. I really don't think you can do it. I think they're going to give the ball more to Walker going forward. Next up, we got game number 13, the final game, the second to final game before the primetime games on Monday night and Sunday Night Football. We got the Dallas Cowboys at the Chicago Bears. Back-to-back 20-plus point performances in PPR out of Javonte Williams. As a Javonte Williams truther last season, I guess I was just 1 year early. Not the first time I have prematurely done something in my life. 18 rushes for 97 yards up against the Giants last week and a touchdown, as well as 6 receptions on 7 targets for 33 yards in a thriller matchup. Shout out to Michael Jackson. Deep down, I know that the Javonte Williams letdown game is just creeping up behind us, right? Just walking up behind us wearing some creepy mask, and it's going to get us. And it's going to hurt like a butt cheek on a stick. But, against a Bears defense that's currently top 5 in points allowed to running backs on a per-game basis through the first 2 weeks of the season, I feel very good about a reliable high-end running back 2 finish this week in Chicago. With Miles Sanders playing more than likely just 20% of the snaps this week, and with him probably only seeing 6-7 touches, and with him being pretty inefficient last week, no need to get cute and play him, even if the Cowboys end up beating down on the Bears, Miles Sanders still probably won't be successful for fantasy. Now, DeAndre Swift saw his snap share slashed in week 2. Week 1, he played 81% of the snaps, and Kyle Monaghy played 13%. Last week against the Lions, he had 57% of the snaps, and Kyle Monaghy played 41%. Swift in Detroit had 12 carries for 63 yards in a revenge game and a touchdown, as well as 3 receptions on 3 targets for 6 yards. I said this in week 1. I said it last week. And I'll say it again. DeAndre Swift is basically drafting the running back, whatever you drafted him as, the 21, running back 22, 23, 24, for him to finish in that exact same range. He is not very good. The offense is pretty mid, so the upside is capped. But he will probably never score you like 5 fantasy points because of the amount of touches he probably will get. And he's also very unlikely to actually win you your league because the odds of him dropping 20 plus points multiple times this season is very low. So he's just like a high-end RB3. You never feel excited about starting him, but he's okay, right? There's a lot worse guys than DeAndre Swift, but there's also a lot better starts than DeAndre Swift. He's one of the worst starts. Al Montague saw 10 touches last week, the Rutgers legend, compared to 15 touches for Swift. I think he can essentially bury the upside of Swift as a whole, but as of right now, Montague is not startable at all in any fashion. Next up, we got the final game before Sunday Night Football, the Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, James Conner has looked kind of mid to start off the season. Last week, the team controlled for a majority of the game, which leads to a weirder game script where he did end up seeing Trey Benson get more snaps and touches than we probably have come accustomed to, and we probably will see this season. Ultimately, though, Conner still scored a touchdown against the Panthers and has now scored a touchdown in both games. This game should be more competitive even if Mac Jones is under center. For the 49ers, Conner will always feel good as a safe low-end RB1 to high-end running back 3. Assuming Benson doesn't truly become highly integrated into this offense, you're always going to be able to rely on James Conner. Trey Benson could be the best handcuff in the league. He saw 44% of the snaps last week, which does raise an alarm slightly on Conner, but not enough to full-on panic. Something to monitor, though, as if he continues to see close to a 50-50 split, like a 1A, 1B type deal with Conner, in positive matchups, he could become startable. But, and there's a big but, shout out to Serena Williams, with back-to-back fewer than 10-point performances, unless you're down bad at running back, you really should not be starting him. Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, don't matter. Christian McCaffrey, top 5 running back. I get the offense runs better with Brock Purdy under center, but ultimately Christian McCaffrey is so fucking good that it doesn't matter. He put up almost the exact same point total week 2 as he did in week 1. Week 1 at Seattle, 23.2 PPR points. Week 2 in New Orleans, 22.7 PPR points. This dude is a target hog with 7+ targets in both games. Simply a different type of player. I gave him the Gawk 9000, the Hawk spin on that dang special all summer for a reason. If he stays healthy, he is a stone cold lock to be a top 5 running back at the end of the season. He is my running back 1 this week, just like probably every other week this season, even with Christian McCaffrey playing 77% of the snaps last week and 76% of the snaps in week 1, which is much lower than we've kind of came accustomed to with McCaffrey in prior years in San Fran. B-Rob with 24 and 23% of the snaps, even with 10 touches and 7 touches, has scored less than 5 points in both games. No need to play him, but he does appear to be the clear handcuff for McCaffrey, so he should be rostered. Next up, we move to, cause you waited all day for Sunday night, but ain't no one waited all day to watch the fucking Chiefs up against the Giants. The battle of 0 and 2. Chiefs, much better than 0 and 2, much better than the Giants, but they really don't look that good, if I'm being honest with you. I just, they feel like a 1-1 team, not an 0-2 team. Pacheco led the clubhouse up against the Eagles in snaps and was able to get more of the snap share in that game against the Eagles compared to week 1. He played 58% of the snaps, Kareem played 40%, Smith picked up the scraps with 8%. Even so, Pacheco had 11 touches and Hunt had 9. Eventually, I do think things will go Pacheco's way as the door continues to open further and further for him in the offense. I believe the offense is going to bounce back and look better. Some people may get cute and try to play him here up against the Giants, as they do allow the most points on a per-game basis to running backs, but ultimately, I think there's just too much risk for me to do it. At the end of the day, he is the first guy in my rankings that is marked as a sit, meaning if you flipped him and like Nick Chubb, right, and you're like, oh, I'd rather play him, I'm not going to, or Swift, I'm not going to judge you, right? But to me, I'm just scared, dude. I am just scared that this is going to be kind of just us getting spit in the face again, Dak Prescott style by Pacheco. That's just kind of my worry. Hunt looks bad, but if the team keeps using him, he's just going to frustrate Pacheco owners, right? Going to be very annoying, but never startable in his own right. Now, the script flipped in week number 2 as Scatterboo led the team in snaps, playing just 12% of snaps in week 1. Now, it has been just 2 games, so I don't really want to blow things out of proportions and say, oh, it's now Cam Scatterboo's backfield. But based on how things are looking currently, I don't think you should be confident starting any of these running backs, even if you have a hunch that Scatterboo plays more snaps and you think he's the better of the 2 backs. He had 11 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown up against the Cowboys last week in Jerry's world with 2 receptions on 3 targets for 14 yards. I don't know how anyone can start a running back up against the Chiefs, who have one of the best running backs in the NFL in terms of points per game allowed, who is in a confusing split, right? Like, I get, oh, you play Saquon. Oh, I'm playing fucking McCaffrey against them, right? Of course you would. But why would you play a running back in a snap split that's a confusing snap split on an offense that might just regress down to middle earth with a bad game from Mr. Unlimited? As a Tyrone Tracy stan, it may be over. But again, I'm not going to overreact to just one down game. This matchup, that was too tough to start either guy. Final game here, Monday Night Football. The Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. What a matchup. The type of matchup that has you feeling happy that Monday is there, and you're never happy when it's a Monday. Despite the Lions getting suplexed by the Packers in week 1, the Lions woke up in week 2 against Ben Johnson and the Bears, putting belt to ass of their former offensive coordinator, winning 52-21 and pouring the points on all game long. Pour that sugar on me. 12 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown out of Gibbs, as well as 3 receptions on 3 targets for 10 yards as a top 10 back on the week, facing the Ravens that are in the top 10 of most points allowed per game. 2 running backs on a weekly basis. You have to feel great about Gibbs here in a matchup that has all the makings of being the highest scoring back and forth, tit for tat, rock'em sock'em robots level matchup of the week, and Vegas agrees. Highest projected matchup on the week with 52.5 points. Gibbs is a must-start running back every week, and this week is no different. Top 6 back for me on the week. Now, Monty played 39% of the snaps last week and 37% of the snaps in week 1. The team clearly wants to use Gibbs more this season, which was something that was indicated by the beat reporters in the summer. The team is still going to use David Montgomery. Make no mistake about that. He ain't going to fully disappear. 11 carries in back-to-back weeks. If he scores, you'll be happy. If not, you probably get you like 8 to 10 points. You feel okay. I love this matchup, but I still can't rank him much higher than a high-end running back 3, strictly because he is limited by Gibbs getting so much work now. For the Ravens, Derrick Henry turned into Mark Henry on Sunday the way he slammed you if you played him in fantasy. 11 carries for 23 yards up against the Browns in a matchup where he has performed very well in last season. The game was close early. It was 10-3 in the Ravens' favor in the first half. It's like, wow, what is wrong with the Ravens? Wow, look at that Browns defense, right? Oh, and then fast forward, the game's over. It's 41-17. Even in a beatdown, it was the receivers who had the good game. It was Lamar Jackson who had the good game. Henry was nowhere to be found. He was on a milk carton. Regardless, after a one-down game with Derrick Henry, you just forget about it. You brush it off your shoulder. You don't worry about it, sweetheart. This man scored 30 PPR points in week 1 up against the Bills almost. It was like 29.5 or something like that. He had a big game. Don't panic. Fire up Henry with supreme confidence as a high-end running back. Number 1, I got him as a top 6 back. Justice Hill, even with Henry being on the news because he was missing and his family was looking for him. It's past 10. Do you know where your family are? Or is it 11 o'clock? Whatever that used to say back in the day when I was a kid on TV. Hill played just 39% of the snaps, which was fewer than in week 1. He saw 6 total touches. With Henry healthy, no other back on this offense is remotely startable. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below, like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. Check out Underdog, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. My rankings will be available on Thursday on Patreon, half PPR and full PPR, as well as answer all questions on there. $12.50. Love you long time. Have a great one. As always, good boy.